Okay, so right now, Kyler Murray is QB 10, I think, in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. I think he's like 7 in 4-point. Yes. You got Zach Ertz, who's a top 4 tight end. I wish I had this. I wish I had written this down. Oh, and did I write it down? Anyway, I'm sorry. Zach Ertz is like tight end 4 or 5. Marquis Brown, I think, is a top 10 wide receiver. The running game hasn't been very good. So it's been a pretty good offense for fantasy. Heath, what do you think it looks like when Hopkins comes back? Is now the time to sell? Break it down. What are the Cardinals beginning in week 7 going forward?
Well, I think my expectation is we're going to have Marquis Brown and DeAndre Hopkins on the outside with Rondelle Moore playing the slot and AJ Green as the 4th wide receiver. If you look at the last 2 weeks since Rondelle Moore came back, it's a 30% target share for Marquis Brown, a 23% target share for Zach Ertz, a 19% target share for Rondelle Moore. Everybody else is getting the rest of the 30 or 40%. AJ Green's at 7, so you can throw those. I think you probably drop Marquis Brown down to 20%, drop Ertz down to around 18%, and put Hopkins around 20% himself. That's what we saw last year. It was a pretty even split amongst the top 3 options between Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and AJ Green at the time. I guess I would view Marquis Brown as a low-end number 2 wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins in basically the same range. He can be better if he scores a bunch of touchdowns, but could be awful if he doesn't. Ertz is a borderline top 12 tight end. And I'm not sure that Rondelle Moore completely goes away. I wonder if he takes some of those targets away from the running backs.
Dave, I'll throw to you in just a second. Rondelle Moore in week 4, his first game back, he played mostly outside. And then in week 5, he played almost entirely in the slot. And
I think the difference was AJ Green didn't play in week 4, and Greg Dortch played the slot with Moore outside. And then when Green came back, Dortch went to the bench.
Okay, yeah, good call. Okay, Dave, they lead the NFL in plays. They lead the NFL in pass attempts. I think one of the reasons they lead the NFL in plays is because they get hardly any explosive plays. They are one of the least explosive offenses. They're very low in yards per play. But they've always been high in plays run, Dave, under Cliff Kingsbury, but they've also haven't been a high pass volume team. They haven't been low, but this year they lead the NFL in passes. So, I guess I wonder, because their running game isn't that good, basically when they use James Conner, it's been better when they use the others. Are they a different offense than what we've seen in the past? One that can support 2 number 2 wide receivers, maybe a starting tight end, and maybe the best of a full season that we've seen from Kyler, because this is going to be by far, I'd say, the best weapons that he's had. What do you think?
I think you can get 2 number 2 receivers out of this. If we're going off of last year, Zach Ertz was not nearly as big of a factor when DeAndre Hopkins was on the field. He had 3 red zone targets in the 4 games that he played with DeAndre Hopkins. I agree with Heath pretty much on the target share split, except I think it'll be a little bit lower for Ertz. I think he's the one that'll be hurt the most in terms of stats, touchdowns, targets in general. I think that he's going to see a huge dip. Brown's going to see a dip too. He's on my sell high list if you can. And I've gotten questions about why he's so low on the trade chart. It's because I'm expecting DeAndre Hopkins to come back and not necessarily be the DeAndre Hopkins that we saw 2 years ago, more like the DeAndre Hopkins that we saw last year. But that's a dude who saw a ton of red zone targets. That's been Kyler Murray's guy in the red zone. Now I think it's going to be Kyler leaning on Hopkins, but still some on Marquis Brown when they get relatively near the red zone, although Brown hasn't had a ton of red zone targets this year.
No, it's all Ertz.
It's been all Ertz. I think that shifts off of Ertz to Hopkins, and maybe Brown picks it up. I don't even know if he picks it up a little bit. So I would imagine that it's going to hurt everybody that's there in Arizona. If you're okay streaming tight ends, man, now's the perfect time to sell high on Zach Ertz. That's probably the biggest sell high that we could have told everybody, is that he's just not going to be in a position to keep this up once Hopkins comes back. And this isn't like what we talked about with Keenan Allen eventually coming back with Mike Williams, because we don't know what Keenan Allen will be. And technically we don't know what DeAndre Hopkins is going to be when he comes back, but at least he's not coming back from a hamstring injury. He's coming back from a suspension. Theoretically, he's healthy. He's fine. He'll go right back into practice and he'll be good to go. Keenan Allen, when he comes back, it might take a week or 2 for him to get going once he's back in the swing of things and he gets his leg right. I don't think that that's going to be the same type of issue with Hopkins. He could come back and make an instant impact.
when you talk about selling Ertz, I mean, are you trying to sell Ertz for Kyle Pitts or something like that? Or you're just trying to sell Ertz for a different position?
I mean, you might be able to pull off some wizardry here and get Pitts and something else. It wouldn't be something else big, all for one Zach Ertz.
You guys just don't think Ertz is going to be a real difference maker at tight end when Hopkins is back?
Not like he's been. So he will not be a top 4 tight end.
Yeah, but will he be a top 8 tight end? Is he still someone worth?
He might be a top 12 tight end. Yes.
All right, low end.
I think he'll still be startable, but he's just barely been a difference maker so far.
Really? But he's been top 5.
I mean, how many times have you told me that you can be a top 5 tight end and not really be that good?
Top 5? Yeah, I mean,
What's he been averaging in PPR?
12.6 fantasy points per game. I've actually got him at tight end 6 per game.
Okay, I could be wrong.
For a tight end,
per
that's
game?
awesome.
Yeah, that might be. I don't know. Tight end, he is tight end 5 overall, and he's averaging the same amount of fantasy points as just below TJ Hawkinson and Dallas Goedert. They're at 12.7. He's at 12.6. But you'd rather have Tyler Higbee rest of season than Zach Ertz?
Yep, I would.
David Njoku?
They're the same.
Okay.
It feels like they're the same.
If you had to pick one, Marquis Brown or DeAndre Hopkins?
Brown.
Yeah, probably Brown.
Would you rather have Gabe Davis than those guys?
I would.
Brown, Davis, Hopkins.
Terry McLaurin or those guys?
I've got Hopkins higher than McLaurin, and I have Brown higher than Hopkins.
Okay. Kyler Murray. I'm excited because I love the weapons now. I mean, they're loaded now, I think, with weapons, and their run game stinks and their defense stinks. Kyler Murray or Tom Brady?
Kyler.
Brady.
Kyler Murray or Herbert?
Herbie.
Kyler Murray or
Burrow?
Yeah.
Kyler.
All right, so Kyler's
I have
going
him
to
6th on the
Kyler's going to be a guy that if you have him, you don't need to be looking for quarterback help, right?
We hope so.
Yeah. Does this affect?
You might want to carry a backup.
Does this affect James?
I'm sorry. You might want to carry a backup quarterback who's got a good matchup when Kyler's on bye.
All right, last question here. Do you think this affects James Conner at all?
Could it make him faster? Let's think about that.
Well, it could make the offense better.
It should make the offense better, but I'm wondering if they're going to get to a point where they go that they can't win with Conner, and unless they just use him in short yardage situations.
All right, I think that was a good discussion. Thank you, guys. Just to further enforce the Zach Ertz thing here. Here's Arizona in the green zone so far. That's inside the 10-yard line. Ertz has 7 targets. No one else has more than 2. Can't say for sure that he's not going to get a lot of targets there, but that's something that Hopkins should really help with.